Sure. I've been working in the athletic department for a number of years, and it's just been a terrific environment to be in because we have a whole array of programs that so many of our students are involved with at some level or another. And since I'm working directly with the athletic director to oversee all of our programs, I get to have some involvement in each of them, and that's been a real exciting part of being here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We're so excited to talk with you today. As you can see, I have my computer here. I'm going to be asking him a couple of questions about athletics here at Dartmouth, and then I'm also tuned into the live chat, so I can answer any of your questions that you have about athletics at Dartmouth or sports or any of the things that we talk about. So feel free to type some questions, and I'll definitely make sure that those get asked. So can you tell us how many different sports are offered at Dartmouth?
Absolutely. We have 34 varsity sports, 16 men's, 16 women's, and 2 co-ed, which is one of the largest varsity athletic programs in the country. And they all compete at NCAA Division I, so it's the top level of college competition. Then we have just as big a club sport program. We now have an equal number of club sports, 34.
Wow.
And have even more students involved there because we have almost 1,000 varsity athletes and now about 1,200 club sport athletes.
Wow.
So when you actually add those two together, it's about half the student body here at Dartmouth that's involved on either a varsity team or a club team.
Wow.
But beyond that, we have a lot of other opportunities for a little less formal involvement. We have a very popular intramural program with about 30 different activities, including 4 sports where we have at least 50 teams in soccer, softball, basketball, and hockey. There are 50 or more teams, so you can tell there's a lot of students involved in that. We also have a physical education requirement, a PE requirement, where any student who is not involved in either a varsity or club sport has to participate in 3 terms of PE. And we have all kinds of offerings for students to be able to learn a new sport, a new activity. So we've got a lot going on there. And then we have a lot of fitness classes as well that we have over 1,000 students each term involved with, whether it's aerobics or water fitness or all kinds of things there as well.
Well, that's great. To speak to the PE requirement, I know that I'm not very athletic, but I did recognize that there are some PE classes for meditation and
there are.
yoga. I took a spinning class last year, thinking it would be a little bit easier, but it was actually kind of difficult.
Oh, it's a challenge.
Yeah, spinning was
Spinning
fun.
is.
Yeah.
Best thing about spinning, though, is the music.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
We've got that sound system cranking during those spinning classes.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So you mentioned that there's so many opportunities to play sports here at Dartmouth. And I know that as a college student, one thing that's really important to me is my time, and time is a commodity. So
absolutely.
What would you say to time commitment as far as the different levels of sports?
Sure. Well, there's no question that being a Division I varsity athlete is the most time consuming, and you've got to really be committed and passionate about competing at that level to tackle that. But I think for those student athletes that decide to make that commitment, there are a lot of terrific rewards as well being involved with a team at that level of competition. But pretty much any varsity sport now, not just here, but any level of college varsity athletics around the country, you'll find that it's pretty much a 12-month commitment.
Wow.
Because even if you're not in season, so to speak, you're probably doing some sort of off-season conditioning, weight training, something along those lines. I think one of the reasons that students get excited about club sports is that there's a real range of time commitment there. On the one hand, there are some club sports like rugby and fencing and water polo that are very serious time commitments, come pretty close to varsity in terms of the kind of time that those students put into it. On the other hand, there are some other club sport activities, I think of badminton, for example, when every Friday night there are about 200 members of the badminton club that show up, fill the gym, and have a great night filled with playing round-robin badminton.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot more informal in terms of the overall time commitment. in that respect. And then when it comes to things like intramurals and fitness classes, I think most students are able to fit those into their schedules without much difficulty.
Yeah.
And I happen to think, and even going back to way back when I was a Dartmouth student, if you have some sort of physical activity in your day, it really, I think, helps you keep going with the other things that you're doing, because it keeps you healthier, and it just gives you that little extra spark of energy that helps you get into or get through your assignments later that night.
Absolutely. Actually, to speak to that, one of the things that I was really nervous about when I decided to come to Dartmouth was the winters, because I'm from Atlanta, which is not known for large amounts of snow in the winter.
No.
And I was really nervous about, living here and being with the snow or whatever. And one of the best pieces of advice that I got for dealing with winters here is to get out and be involved with the snow. So there are athletics classes, PE classes that you can take in skiing and snowboarding.
Absolutely.
And we have our own facilities. Do you want to talk a little bit about Dartmouth facilities?
Sure. One of the things that our coaches say when they're recruiting is that there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad wardrobes. So if you wear the right clothes, and we all learn how to layer here at Dartmouth. Once you learn how to do that, then you're well prepared for any kind of weather. And I think you're absolutely right, Clark. I think embracing the opportunities that the winter has to offer is the best way to cope with it.
Yeah.
And we do have, indeed, our own skiway, which is a terrific facility for skiing and snowboarding. So, and we offer a shuttle bus during the winter that leaves right from the green in the center of campus and takes students up there. So that's a great thing to take advantage of. And we have opportunities in the skating arena to learn how to skate, and also on Occam Pond, which is a favorite spot for a lot of our students to go down there and skate skate outdoors during winter term, and even do a little pickup hockey down there. So yes, and whether it's snowshoeing or any of the other outdoor activities, there's a lot to take advantage of.
Yeah, well, that's so awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Can you talk a little bit about Dartmouth recruitment, just for people who might be interested in being recruited for athletics, or like the process that they should go through if they're interested, for maybe the juniors and maybe some of the seniors watching?
Sure. Well, any high school student that is serious about playing a varsity sport in college should definitely take the step of getting in touch with coaches, because you just never know whether those coaches have a way of being aware of their interest. So I always suggest that students put together a little resume. It doesn't have to be more than one page, that gives the key highlights of both their academic background and their athletic background, and also provides information about how that coach could learn more about that student's athletic background, like maybe that student's high school coach's name and phone number and all of that, and then that starts the conversation. And most of our teams also have right on our website. You just go to dartmouthsports.com and select whatever sport that you're interested in, and there are online questionnaires.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That you can fill out with a lot of that same information. Now, we have also the opportunity here for students, particularly in some sports, who may not have been recruited, but want to try to walk on to a varsity sport.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the best example of that would be rowing. We have a lot of students in our varsity rowing program who never rowed previously, came up here and tried out, and some of them end up, by the time they're junior or senior, being in the first boat and competing at the highest level. And so there are some opportunities to do that. But again, one of the beauties of club sports is that you can get involved in virtually any club sport without ever having done it before in your life. And so I think that's one of the things that's really appealing there.
Yeah, absolutely. To speak to club sports, I've actually found that the people who play club sports take it just as seriously as the people who, do the sports on the varsity level. Two of my really good friends are the captains of the men's volleyball team, and one of them was the captain starting his sophomore year, which just goes to show you that not only are people really dedicated to sports here at Dartmouth, even on the club or maybe intramural level, but that you can really get involved and be a leader as a younger member of the team.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I think adds an extra dimension to club sports is that they are essentially student-run. There are some sports where we do have part-time coaches that come in and do the actual coaching and practice and games and all. But in terms of organizing the team, in terms of scheduling, in terms of arranging for the away trips and all those kinds of details, students do that. And it's a great experience. One of the things that we as athletic administrators really enjoy is working with our club sport athletes and helping steer them in the right direction as they try to put together those kinds of details for their team. And so you can learn not only some great leadership skills that way, but some terrific organizational skills as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking here at the chat, and I just wanted to let you guys know that we have links in the chat to dartmouthsports.com if you're interested in looking at the recruiting that we talked about, and as well as to the Skiway to get a little bit more information about that. And I'm also going to take a question from the chat. John B. asks, can athletes still study abroad and take advantage of other opportunities that regular students get to do?
That is a terrific question, and I think that one of the great advantages to the Dartmouth plan is that we can offer Division I varsity athletes the opportunity to go abroad when many schools can't.
Absolutely.
Because for most institutions, your only opportunity to go abroad is for either an entire year, like a junior year abroad, or at least for a full semester.
Correct.
But here with the Dartmouth plan, with every term just being 10 weeks, and having a lot of flexibility during your sophomore and junior year to choose which terms you want to be here on campus and which terms you might be on a program abroad, you have that flexibility. For example, we have a lot of athletes in our fall sports, if they happen to be, say, a soccer player or football player, something along those lines. They'll play their sport during the fall term and then be abroad during the winter, during either their sophomore or junior year, and then be back in the spring for the spring practice for that sport.
Absolutely.
So you're right. There are some opportunities for student athletes here at Dartmouth that are pretty unique.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of my friends, we were talking about crew, which I would definitely say is one of the most time-intensive sports at Dartmouth. A friend of mine is on the lightweight crew team, and he's currently doing his study abroad program in Scotland for the English foreign study program.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so it's so great because he gets to study abroad as well, just like the other people at Dartmouth who aren't, putting all their time into crew.
Absolutely.
For those of you who don't know what the Dartmouth plan is, which we call the D plan, there's a little link in the chat which will give you more information about it. Basically, we just pick our quarters, which we're going to be on and we're going to be off. And as he was explaining, if you can choose an off term, and you can go away and study abroad, or you can do internships, and it makes it a lot more flexible, especially for athletes. Well, that's so great. I'm glad that we've talked about study abroad and all these things. Can you talk a little bit about, just a little bit more about facilities, just like what the Sports Center, I know that we just recently got a new gym like a year or two ago, as well as the fields for like rugby versus soccer, things like that.
We've been very fortunate. In the last 10 years, we've actually had $85 million worth of improvements to our athletic and recreational facilities. And one of the things that I think makes us proudest is that it is a set of facilities that benefits both varsity athletes and recreational athletes. And a great example of that is that one of our new facilities, the Florin Varsity House, includes a beautiful new strength training center for all of our varsity athletes to do their weight training. But within the same year, we opened an even bigger recreational fitness center, which is now the Zimmerman Fitness Center. And it's actually the largest recreational fitness center in the Ivy League. I'll have to tell you a little story about when the fitness center first opened. I was waiting upstairs for the ceremony to start, waiting with the college president. And we had sent invitations out to the student body to come over and check out the new fitness center. And it was so much fun just watching students come up the stairs, open the door, first their jaw dropped, and then right to their cell phone, calling their friends or texting their friends immediately saying, "You got to come over here, this is amazing." And so it really is has turned out to be a terrific center for our students, and we average 1,000 students a day.
Wow.
In the fitness center.
Well, logistically, how does that work with students? Do they have to pay to use the fitness center, or how does that work?
They just flash their ID and head right in. It's all part
Wow.
of the opportunities that we offer, and there are all kinds of different areas within the fitness center for different kinds of workouts and different kinds of equipment. So students can go at their own pace and do the type of workout that they'd really like.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we have a question from Debbie, one of the viewers right now, and Debbie asks, can you talk a little bit about tennis? I played at varsity level. Should I apply as an athlete? I'm not sure about my major yet. Well, that's all right, Debbie, because as a sophomore, I'm not sure about my major yet. But yeah, can you talk a little bit about tennis here at Dartmouth?
Sure, Debbie. The opportunities in tennis are actually at every level, because we offer both men's and women's varsity tennis. If she wants to take a shot at that level, she should get in touch with the coach, as I mentioned, of either the men's or obviously in her case, the women's team.
Right.
And if she would all be interested in something that's a little less competitive but still a lot of fun and still a team experience, we have both men's and women's tennis as club sports.
Really? Okay.
And then we have an intramural tennis tournament every year that has a lot of different ability levels represented. And one of our most popular PE classes are in our tennis classes.
Okay.
So, and we do have those at beginner and intermediate and advanced levels as well. So there's a lot of tennis. And I would mention, not only do we have many outdoor courts here at Dartmouth, but we have a beautiful indoor tennis facility.
Really?
Which is important, knowing what our winters are like here. So if you want to keep playing tennis right through the winter, you sure can. The Boss Tennis Center has 6 indoor courts and is a beautiful facility.
I did not even know that. I've walked by the tennis courts all this time, and I never even knew there were indoor courts. Wow, that's
you got to
so
check them out.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that you could play tennis in the winter here. Well, good. Thank you so much. That's a great question. I mean, great answer to the question. There's another question in the chat from Lizzie. Lizzie says, I hate going to the gym to run. It's so boring. Are there places to run outside when it's nice weather? That's a really great question, Lizzie.
It is a great question, and I obviously I'm a little bit biased, but there are so many terrific trails and places to run here. There really only are several months during the winter when people don't run regularly. I mean, in the depth of the winter when you'd be doing most of your running through snow. But the other 9 or so months, people who enjoy running are outside taking advantage of all kinds of great trails. So, so yes, plenty of outdoor running opportunity.
That's so funny, because I remember when I came up to visit Dartmouth during the Admitted Students Weekend, we were driving up on Main Street and coming up on the Green in Baker, and I just remember thinking it was my first time to New Hampshire, and it was probably going to be freezing cold coming from Atlanta. And right as we stopped at the light, this group of people were running by in shorts. Some of them were shirtless, wearing shorts or short sleeve shirts, and I was just like, why are you running around? And then I realized that Dartmouth students just love to be outdoors and love to really interact with the nature. And I've rarely seen people not running, just like you said. Like that 1 month in January, February is the only time when I've never seen people outside running around and really taking a part of the weather that we have here. And also, just to speak to the Dartmouth athletic spirit, people really get excited for homecoming and the football games, and getting excited for sports like that. One thing that is really exciting is our football team this year. We've started to turn it around and get better scores,
Well, we sure have, and we've had some really good crowds as well, so the atmosphere in the stadium's been really electric, and that's been a fun part to see. I remember one of my favorite recent memories was last year. you might remember homecoming was not great weather that day.
I remember.
And it was pouring rain. And so the beginning of the football game, we didn't have the greatest crowd.
Yeah.
But as we kept doing well in the game, word was getting around campus. I'm sure there were a lot of texts flying around.
Absolutely.
And so as I kept turning around and looking up in the stands, and there are more and more students coming in. And by the end of the game, which was a victory, we had a significant rush from the crowd right onto the field to celebrate the win. So that was a lot of fun.
It was almost as if the rain didn't even matter anymore.
That's right.
Because we had won. That's so great. Yeah. Didn't we just get a new coach recently in the past couple of years for the football team?
Well, he's been here for this is his 6th season.
Okay.
But we did hire brand new offensive and defensive coordinators who have added some different wrinkles and have a lot of great experience. So they're helping the team a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I remember last year I went to a couple of the games, but this year I went to the first game and it was a lot of fun, a lot of people in the stands, and I wasn't going to go to the second game just because I was not really, didn't really think about it. But then I got all these texts from my friends and Blitzes, which is our email server, and they were like, you have to come to this game. It's so great. We're winning. Mm-hmm. And so I came, and there were people in the stands, and the energy was just electrifying. And it's really nice to see people getting so excited about sports. It's something that like I said, I'm not really involved in, but it's nice to be a part of,
Well, it is, and I think it helps bring the community together, and you're all pulling in the same direction and sharing exciting moments. So I agree.
Yeah, and also a couple weeks ago, we actually had Eric Tanner, who is the president of the student body, on the show with us, and we were talking about some of the things that we were trying to do to get more people excited about sports here at Dartmouth. And one of the things that we started was tailgates at some of the fraternities, where we just have free food and fun music, and people come and have a little bit of fun before going to the football games. So it gets more of the student body actively involved in sports here at Dartmouth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And can you also talk a little bit about the new assistant director?
Or the new athletic director.
Athletic director.
Yes, absolutely. We have a terrific new athletic director. His name is Harry Sheehy, and Harry had a terrific record as a student athlete at Williams when he was an All-American basketball player.
Oh, wow.
And then he was their head basketball coach there for 17 years. And during that time, his winning percentage was above 750, which is just amazing.
Oh, wow.
And won many league championships. And for the last 10 years, he's been the athletic director at Williams College.
Really?
And all 10 of those years, this is really pretty amazing, all 10 of those years, Williams has won the Directors' Cup for Division III, which means the best athletic program in the country for Division III. So obviously Dartmouth would love to compete for the Directors' Cup in Division I.
Absolutely.
And so it's exciting to have Harry on board. He's just very energetic and charismatic and understands student athletes and coaches, and we're just really happy to have him on board.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's so great to hear about that. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate having you here and talking to us about the athletics at Dartmouth and all the stuff that you were saying. You also mentioned that you graduated from Dartmouth in '78, right?
I did, yep.
That's so awesome. That just goes to show you that once you come, you're never going to get away. Because we love it here. We really do.
I just call it my extended Dartmouth plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's so good to talk to you. There's one more question in the chat that we're going to take before we go, and it's from Lizzie. What's the greatest part of your job as assistant athletic director?
The greatest part of my job? Well, interacting every day with student athletes.
Yeah.
They just bring such energy and passion, and if I happen to be having a down day, because any job you're going to have some ups and downs.
Yeah.
It only takes about 3 minutes of bumping into a student athlete in the hall and striking up a conversation, and I'm flying high again, because it just is such an totally energetic and exhilarating atmosphere to be around.
Yeah, well, that's so great that the students and the faculty are constantly interacting. That's so great. I'm great to hear that. Glad to hear that. Well, good. Thank you so much for tuning in with us this week. We can come back on the Thursday. We're gonna have the the Office Hours Student Edition, where there will be 2 students here with the web chat open, answering questions about Dartmouth, and any questions that you want to ask, you can feel free to ask. That'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern, and tune in next week on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern for the Office Hours Dartmouth Edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you later.